Welcome to AM Reviews. My name is Sal, and I'm here with my friend Thule. How's it going, Thule?
Doing pretty good.
That's good. And today it's a Throwback Thursday. Before we get into it, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you have been warned. Today's movie we're going to review is Falling Down with Michael Douglas and Robert Duvall. So the movie is about an unemployed defense worker who's frustrated with various flaws in society, and he violently lashes out against them. So let's get into it. Thule, what did you think of this film?
I liked the movie. I liked it a lot. I saw it back when it was released, believe it or not, on what it's called VHS. And it's still one of my favorite to go to classic movies. It's definitely my favorite Michael Douglas film. And I just love seeing this character go through society and react to different scenarios, different people along the way, and seeing kind of like the people who's after him, the lieutenant, kind of struggle too while him doing this, and seeing like how each of these characters react to the situations that they are in, and how they kind of converged at the end, and seeing them actually meet up and finally talk to one another. It was pretty satisfying. I mean, you could debate as to how the movie ended.
Yes.
But I mean, overall, I thought it was a great movie.
Yeah, I agree with you. The movie, I love both characters, Michael Douglas and Robert Duvall. Even though they didn't see each other, like you said, throughout the movie until the end, I absolutely love that part. They don't know about each other until the end. They hear little tidbits like somebody who robbed a store, or somebody hit up this burger joint, blah, blah, blah. At the end, that's when he meets him face to face, you know? So he's like, so you're him. This movie, especially with Michael Douglas, how he evolves from his character, from, the beginning scene when he's in traffic's not moving, and everything is going bad to him. He's slowly breaking. He's slowly becoming the guy who's about to reach the edge. It's basically the straw that broke the camel's back. You unleash the beast. And we see that not right away, but slowly. And since the beginning, I thought it was hilarious how he leaves his car, then he goes to the liquor store to get change. The first thing that he ends up acquiring is a baseball bat. Then the next thing is a knife. So I thought I saw it as a video game. He's upgrading his weapons, and throughout,
Yeah.
at the end, what does he have? He has a rocket launcher, which was amazing. I mean, for me, it was like, oh shit, it's a video game. Oh, and here's another tidbit that I think I was telling you about. Fans of The Simpsons, you guys remember the episode with Frank Grimes, or Grimy. Well, that character is based off the Michael Douglas character here in this movie, Falling Down. And when I saw the movie, I kind of was like, wait, that looks like he reminds me of somebody. Who could it be? And I'm like, oh, look, I think he reminds me of Grimy. Yeah, I went online and basically I looked it up, and people said that he's a homage to Michael Douglas's character in this movie. So that was kind of an interesting fact that I think I shared with Thule, and we kind of enjoyed that fact. So, and another thing about the detective Robert Duvall, I'm a fan of Hitchcock Presents, the show, and in that series, Hitchcock has an episode entitled Bad Actor, and the lead role is Robert Duvall, who plays an actor who's competing for a role with another actor, and the role they're competing for is character who's violent. Something leads to something else, and they both end up going to Robert Duvall's apartment, where Robert Duvall basically tells the other guy, like, you don't have it in you. You don't know how to act. How I act, I become the character. This character is violent, so I act with violence. And he ends up killing the other actor. Tries to dispose of the body, but eventually gets caught. So, referencing that episode, and now coming back to this movie, Robert Duvall was Michael Douglas in that episode of Bad Actor. So for me, that's a little kind of interesting fact. Other than that, I think, Thule, you made the reference where you think that Michael Douglas and Robert Duvall are the perfect characters because they're opposites of each other.
Yeah, so like the character that Michael Douglas played, he's like reacting on like the extreme side, where his buttons has been pushed too far, actually lashing out back at whoever he's coming across. Whereas the character that Robert Duvall plays, the sergeant, he has his problems too. He's having like communication problem with his wife, understandably slow because apparently they have lost their daughter shortly after like she was born, and the wife just never like mentally recovered from that state. He, just carried on with life. But then he's kind of like trying to take care of her, but she's putting a lot of pressure on him. And so to add on top of that, this is actually his last day on the workforce. A lot of the guys there, they're taking advantage of him in terms of, making fun of him, that this is his last day. Be careful not to get shot while you're out there on your last day. He's trying to be professional about this and not lash out on them. So that's kind of like where I draw like a similarity, is just the way each of these characters handle the situation is different. It's really nice to see.
Also, the way they joked at him saying, be careful you don't get a paper cut. They're like putting him down because he's in the office, he's in a desk. He gave up being on the street for his wife. So he's giving up things for his wife to be compassionate for his wife. So with that in mind, like you said, he is giving up things. He's not lashing out at people. He's kind of adapting or changing his way around his situation.
Yeah, definitely. But at the same time, the people working at the police station seeing or treating him seriously. And when the situation of William Foster, who is the character that Michael Douglas played, when his character starts to get on this violent road, out there in society, and the sergeant starts to pick up on these clues because he keeps on hearing, hey, there's this guy out there wearing a white t-shirt and a tie who's causing all of these disturbances, but they're not treating him seriously because of how they have been treating him as of late, especially like you said, with the way he's been acting towards his wife, and they're trying to put him down because of that. So he kind of tried to take things into his own hands. Because of this, he and one of his ex-partners, they were able to take down Michael Douglas' character, at the end. So yeah, it was a nice little relationship that these two characters had off screen, but it was very nice that they came together at the end. Yes. You see how these two characters who had different ways of approaching life just talked to each other for a bit, and then what happened.
Yeah. Also, especially the conversation when Michael Douglas called his wife from the surplus store, talking about the point of no return. I saw that as breaking the fourth wall, and he was actually talking to the audience saying, I'm at this point, there's no going back for me. I did what I did, and I'm all in. And right after that, he got out of there. He changed his clothes. Before, he had a white shirt with a white tie, signifying like, okay, I'm in society, I'm following the rules, but they're pissing me off. They're making me do what I don't want to do, and he's reacting violently towards it. Then he changes while he's in the surplus store. He gets out, he's dressed in a military jacket and military boots. He's going out, he's completely changed. He has a bag of guns and a rocket launcher. So by that point, you're like, okay, this guy is far gone. There's no way that we can call him back from the edge, like he's out there. The only thing we can do is let him finish what he's going to do, or, he's going to die. So yeah, I mean, that's how I saw that. Also, let me go back to the surplus store. I don't know if people really like when I mention homage scenes, that they pay homage to other movies, but in that scene where they're in the back of the store and the store owner tells him, you're going to jail, you're going to get raped in jail, blah, blah, blah. And then he's telling him, give it to me over and over. I saw that as an homage to Deliverance. I don't know if people saw it that way, or they just saw that other people have said that the store owner was homophobic because he is actually gay and he's trying to cover it up. So with that said, I don't know, I'm putting it out there so people can either comment or let us know what you think. Did you agree with how I saw it? Or Tuli, how did you see it? Did it make sense, or did you just think it was just in there?
I thought it was intentional, but in terms of playing homage, I'm not too familiar with it, so I can't say that much. But just in terms of the dialogue, I can kind of see it kind of going that route of the store owner taking advantage of Michael Douglas' character there, because again, he was already mentioning him going to jail, yes, and this is how it's going to be when you're in jail. So in that retrospect, I can see it going in that route.
Yeah, and he locked the door because the cops left, so he's like, hey, what does he have to lose, right?
Hey, Sal, I have a question for you regarding the movie. So I mentioned earlier, and you have alluded to it as well, where Michael Douglas's character goes around LA, on his way to Venice to meet up with his ex-wife and his daughter. As he's doing this, he interacts with different people in different scenarios. So was there like a particular situation that kind of like jumped out at you? Like either it was like very comical or it just, kind of hit home. Was there anything like that?
Yeah, there's okay, first of all, since I used to live in Venice, when they referenced and I saw the Venice Pier and the house, I was like, oh, that's my old neighborhood. I've been there. So that was kind of a little nice thing that I saw, and I'm like, I love that reference, or that scene. But one of the scenes that actually stood out the most was this two scenes. One scene when it's comical because he shows up to the work site and he pulls out the rocket launcher like a badass, but then he doesn't know how to work it. In steps a little kid on the bike. He's like, you have to take that off. Or what? Take the little thing off, the cover. So he's telling him how to work it. And then Michael Douglas looks at the kid. He's like, how do you know how to work this? He's like, I saw it on TV. And just that thing between like Michael Douglas talking to the little kid, and the little kid's not afraid of Michael Douglas, and Michael Douglas is not like annoyed or pushed to the edge. It was so comical. There's like, even Michael Douglas, like his character, didn't know what he was doing until he was already there. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna blow you up, but how do I do it again? So that scene for me was hilarious.
You know what my favorite line was during that conversation? It was when the kid was like, hey, mister, where's the camera?
Oh, yes. Because he's like, what movie are you shooting? And he's like, what'd you say?
He calls it under construction.
Under construction.
And the kid's like, yeah, that's okay.
He's like, that's okay. No, that was that scene itself. I'm like, it really made me giggle, kind of thing. Like it's a serious movie, but this scene is like brings it home, kind of like, hey, look, we can still laugh. But the other scene that kind of really made an impact on me was when he was buying the snow globe.
Oh,
and then there was the guy outside the bank that was dressed identically like him, white shirt and black tie, protesting that the bank didn't give him a loan because he, the bank labeled him. I can't remember what it was, but Michael Douglas is like looking at him, and to me it seems like they're both in the same character. And then even Michael Douglas later in the movie, he says, well, it's society who, I guess economical something. He's referencing what the guy told him. And right before the cops took, just to pointed out, the guy was actually an African American outside the bank. So it kind of brings to the point, this is 1990 in LA, and there's discrimination, so it's like, is it because he's a black guy and he's asking for a loan, and that's why the bank doesn't want to give him a loan? Out steps a white guy, and the black guy says, hey, look, another guy who stepped out the bank. He has a smile on his face. I bet the bank gave him his loan. I think they were pushing the discrimination things in LA. So I was just thinking, is this how it really is? Is this what they were trying to do? So that stood out. It just made me think, and I really love that scene because I'm like, okay, this is bringing more into the movie. Like, it's making me think and analyze it. So that's another scene that I liked. And on top of that, I'm going to reference this. Throughout the whole movie, we saw the reference to London bridges. The detective sings London Bridges Falling Down to his wife over the phone. The snow globe plays London Bridges Falling Down. People reference London Bridges from, where he's going to move to, Lake Havasu, right? Everything is revolved around this little jingle, little rhyme, London Bridges Falling Down. And is what Michael Douglas, his character, is doing. He's collapsing. He's breaking down. That's another little thing I wanted to reference. So what about you, Thule? What scenes stood out for you?
I like a lot of the scenes, actually, but if I were to pick a couple, what really stood out, I love the... Actually, the first scene too, where he goes into the Korean little mini mart.
Yes.
It's not so much that it was run by an Asian person. And I know they were trying to stereotype here. It was when he was doing the whole price is right kind of thing, where he was asking, hey, how much is this? And how much is that?
Yeah.
And what I found comical about that, this is more about perspective. I know this was back in the 1990s, but when he was, giving off the prices, I was like, that's pretty reasonable, because he pointed like a bag of like a 6-pack of donuts, and he said it was like $1.25 or something.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
But of course, back in the 1990s, that was probably expensive. So he using the bad, Michael Douglas' character, bashes the donuts. Exactly. He goes to like a bottle of Advil or whatever, and he's like, how much is this? And he's like, $3 and something. I was like, that's pretty cheap. But I was like, yeah, nowadays that's somewhere like $5 to $6.
Yes.
And then he went to like batteries. That was like $4 or something. I guess that's okay. Maybe batteries are still like a little more expensive than that.
Yeah.
But then he finally, came to his senses because he was being pressured. He was like, how much is for this can of soda? It's like 50 cents. But today, like, it's hard to come across like even like a soda machine for like the main brands of soda and pay 50 cents for it. It's like 60 to 70 cents nowadays. So
Yes.
I found like a little comical, so I like that little part of it. And then the other part was, and I guess it just comes back to products too. For some reason, products kind of like reached out to me in this movie, and it was when he was at the burger joint, and then when they gave him the burger and he opened it, he saw it and how flat it was, and he was comparing it to the picture. He was like, "There's something wrong with this picture here. Can anybody tell me?" And of course,
the little kid
the kids in this,
yes.
yeah, the kids in the film are too smart. Like, it's the kid who raises his hand, and so, I mean, yeah, I just love like this representation that the commercial or the, like things that are being commercialized try to represent their products so that gets people to buy them. Like, here's the realism of it. Here's a reality check for you. It's not like this. So that's what I love about this film. Like.
Okay, well, with that said, let's go to the final scene when the two characters meet at the pier. It's a standoff. Michael Douglas, like, the weapon he had, the wife kicks it away. Now it's just detective has the gun and says, "Okay, turn yourself in." He says, Michael Douglas refers to that he has more weapons on him. Well, the detective doesn't know that. What is the detective going to do? He says, "Let's draw," like a Western. And this was the funny thing to me. It was like, it comes down to a showdown, like a Western movie. And this is basically like, he said, there's two options. Either you kill me or I kill you. Michael Douglas was doing it not because he wanted to commit suicide or get killed. He was thinking about his daughter, that he had a life insurance on him. And if he gets killed, the girl's going to collect money. And that way he's taking care of his daughter. So this guy is looking for a way out in a way that he can still support his daughter or give her what she needs. And I was like, this is basically like him saying like, look, I'm not trying to commit suicide. I don't want to get labeled in that way that I'm a lunatic, but this is the only way I see out. It's my only way, my only opportunity. So how did you see that scene too, Lee?
Yeah, I saw it pretty much the same way. He died wanting to ensure that his daughter was going to have potentially a bright future.
Yes.
Yeah, so definitely saw it that way. Didn't see it as him trying to commit suicide. Yeah. In a lot of ways, it was a little honorable too, because he said that he didn't want to turn himself in and have his daughter have this awful perception of him behind bars.
Exactly. That's what the guy said. Do it for your daughter. And he says, I don't want her to come visit me behind bars. And that really like touched me, saying like, oh my god, okay, now he's kind of reversing the role, and now he's like more logical, because before we just saw him shooting payphones and everything. Now he's logical, thinking about reason and logic and everything behind everything. And I think it was due when he was in his house watching the movies, the home movies that he filmed, and realizing, oh my god, I've been a bad father to my daughter. Because we saw a film where he was putting her on the little horsey and she was crying, and he gets irate against the daughter and the wife. And then you see Michael Douglas's face like watching the movie, and he's like reacting to it like, oh my god, is that me? Like, now he's seeing it from our perspective. And now when he's at the pier, he's totally like not changed, but I'm still thinking that he's still kind of crazy, but now he's like thinking more reasonable, and he says, okay, I'm going to do it for my daughter.
Yep, definitely. And at the same token too, from like the sergeant perspective, a part of me felt that he didn't want to do it, not just from the perspective, hey, I'm a police officer here, things don't have to go this way, you can still live above, beyond that. It began going back to the idea of him having lost a daughter himself.
Yes,
he didn't want his daughter to grow up without a father. So it kind of like there's a shift in roles here.
Yes.
So a part of him didn't want him to die because he wanted him to live for his daughter. But in Michael Douglas' character's eyes, he was kind of like, well, if I die, I am still going to be able to support my daughter this way, but you're probably not going to see it the way I see it, but this is just how it's going to be. And you can see that the sergeant was very conflicted too. Like, yes, he was put in a situation where if he had to pull the trigger, but he didn't want to do it, because he didn't not just want to kill a man, but he wanted to, take away a father from a daughter because he has lost a daughter himself. Exactly. So there was that conflict going on as well. And I love that interaction that happened between the two of them right there.
Yeah, the final scene for me, it's the one that basically brought the whole movie together. This is like two people who didn't meet each other, and at the end, they're opposites. Like you said, the detective, had lost his daughter, and Michael Douglas is about to, have his daughter lose a father, and the detective's trying to, basically stop this. But Michael Douglas's point is like, there's no way out. I've like he said before, I passed the point of no return. Now I have to finish it. I have to conclude the story. So, I mean, for me, that scene was, if anything, was really important to have in there. And if it would have just ended like right there and then, I would have been happy with the movie ending right there. So, I mean, it's just brings it all home, and like he said, I'm going home. And I think his home that he was talking about was, he knew he was going to die, and the only thing was him doing it in a way that his daughter was going to be taken care of. He just needed to know she was going to be taken care of.
Yeah, and it also actually he put the sergeant in a good light too. Like, he was doing it for self-defense. It wasn't like he was out there for blood or to just get this guy. There was reason for him to come after him because he was a danger to society.
Yes.
So there was not going to be any backlash to the sergeant either because of this.
Yeah, and then just to let people know, I mean, even though we already said spoilers, the thing was that right before Robert Duvall shot Michael Douglas reached for his pocket to pull out a blue water gun, which is the one that his daughter was playing since the beginning of the movie. So doing that, basically he's like, look, I'm letting you justify that I was pulling for something and you didn't know what, and you shot me in self-defense kind of thing. So Michael Douglas kind of like said, look, I'm also doing it for you. You won't get blamed, but at the same time, my daughter's going to get life insurance from me kind of thing. So we're all we worked it out. We're good. Even though Michael Douglas died, so.
But you already knew he was like gone.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with that said, let's give it our grade. Tuli, what did you give this movie?
Somewhere like a 7.5 to an 8, but I'm probably leaning more towards an 8.
Yeah, for me, it's the same score, 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. I mean, there's some little things here and there that I didn't agree with the movie, but overall, it was a very enjoyable movie from start to finish. A lot of things that were in there, and on top of that, when it was filmed, it was dead on in the LA riots time, 1992. So the whole movie gave me this whole riot vibe, about to get, a bubble that was about to burst. So that's why it got that score for me. So I really enjoyed the movie. So that wraps up our review for Falling Down. Join us next time when we answer the question, who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters.
And remember, social media is in the description, and hit us up if you have any questions. And remember, keep watching movies.